One of the guys that's like right now. Well, you get there with that class with somebody else for another class. Yeah, that's where the Monday classes come in. Pre-COVID, there used to be like even me, I mean, I worked on 5 minutes. Like a nice person. It looks like the fourth palace. Around the most. Yeah. It's on the north side. So I think I'm training now. I'm just trying to put this together. Like 3 years. So in practice, so yeah, it's be great. Oh, we live close to the stops. Yeah, so I was like trapped. And it was like 4 minutes. That makes it yeah. Yeah, there's like trains around here to stop, but I got the camera communicator that could Sam. All sorts of things, but like next week there won't be class. So I'll wear things that go all they we come in class. Christmas bottom. Yes.
Oh, because like people are outside the holidays and stuff.
Yeah, like I said, it's because it's like. On the holidays, next time. It was that I was working that day. Like, the month is long.
Respond to one thing he give me. MashaAllah, the class is growing. Welcome to all of you coming in for the first time. And it's funny, before COVID, this class should be actually pretty big, actually. It's like, 50, 60 people. Yeah, MashaAllah. The COVID things contracted a little bit. So,
It's probably some of us prefer smaller.
MashaAllah. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونستهديه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله ثم أما بعد ما شاء الله. It is are we out of chairs? MashaAllah. It is no, Ryan, you shouldn't do this. Brothers, men. It is over. It is not over. Okay. MashaAllah, we've dedicated this, we're standing room only now. We've dedicated this session to discussing the names and attributes of God. And these names are very important, even though the names in the Quran number 99 are 99 specific attributes of God mentioned in the Quran. You have other attributes that are mentioned in the ahadith of the Prophet ﷺ, like Hanan, for instance, which literally means the maternally warm or merciful. Some of us know women named Hanan, right? It's a common Arabic female name. So this is a name of God mentioned in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, but not mentioned in the Quran. Mannan, also a name mentioned in the hadith. Some of you know Qadi Abdul Mannan, right? Mannan is a name mentioned in the hadith, not mentioned in the Quran. This class specifically focuses on those names mentioned in the Quran. And the importance of the asma and the sifat are they teach us how to see the signs of God. Whenever someone asks, Salam alaikum. Did you get the key? Okay, bismillah. Whenever someone asks, where is God? Or how should I perceive God? Or some people, in their limited perceptive ability, believe that God is not speaking or God is not acting. The names and attributes of God show us how to identify those af'al, those actions of God in creation. And the more you know them, and the better acquainted you are with them, the more you are able to see the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The great Imam Ghazali, radiallahu anhu, after all of his engagement with what is called speculative theology. Speculative theology is when a person offers philosophical proofs, or they attempt to offer philosophical proof for the existence of God. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. September is going to be my month, mashallah. Alhamdulillah. Just wait for them to get the chairs, inshallah. Okay, mashallah. Alhamdulillah. MashaAllah. The great Imam Ghazali, after all of his engagement with speculative theology, people offering philosophical proofs for the existence of God, he was asked, how can I increase my certainty? The story of Imam Ghazali is a very interesting story. He was known primarily as a jurisprudent or a scholar of law. He was a faqih, and he was very celebrated. He was the chair of Shafi'i jurisprudence at the Nizamiyya. And see, some of us have to kind of transport to understand the prestige that Islamic studies enjoyed during that time. So now if we say somebody's like a leading Islamic scholar, in the greater world, that doesn't mean anything. It's like he's a great Islamic scholar. What does that mean? Back then, saying that someone was a great Islamic scholar was like saying that a person was a great economist. Now, right here, much status, much prestige. And Imam Ghazali, people would travel sometimes for days to listen to him lecture. He was celebrated, held in very high esteem for his acumen, for his communicative ability, for his writing. But at some point during his career, he suffered a spiritual breakdown. And his spiritual breakdown was based on the fact that he did not have certainty. He wrote an autobiography called Al-Munqidh min al-Dalal, that which saves from error. And he says that he broke down psychologically in stages. And he got to the point that he couldn't even remember Surah Al-Fatiha. Like he couldn't even speak, because he knew that although he was going in front of audiences and delivering riveting presentations, he really didn't believe with conviction in Islam. He really didn't believe it. And so he took a 10-year sojourn, a 10-year sabbatical. And during that time, he was studying with people not that had the same, book knowledge. They didn't have the same erudition that he had, but these were people who knew God in a natural way. They knew God intrinsically. They were able to prove God's existence by their experience of the divine, not through proofs and engagement with Hellenistic philosophy. He was with those people for 10 years. He comes out of that 10-year sabbatical, and someone asked him, well, it's kind of dramatic. They said that he went back, reclaimed his post at the university. He only opened his mouth to say, قال الله تعالى في كتابه المجيد. God has said in his majestic book, and everybody in the auditorium started weeping, right? Because now a person of certainty was addressing them. not just someone of intelligence, right? الكلمة إذا خرجت من القلب دخلت في القلب. When a word comes out of the heart, it enters the heart. When he was just talking, qualities and qualities of God, theories and philosophies, people would be amazed, but nobody would be moved. Say, wow, that's pretty impressive. Now people were moved by his speech. And someone asked him, how can I gain certainty? And he said, the easiest way to gain certainty is that you see the signs of God in your life, right? Ghazali is saying, rather than just becoming the student of some theologian, and theology is a good thing, become the student of your own experience. So for instance, هل جزاء الإحسان إلا الإحسان? God says, is the reward of excellence anything other than excellence? If you see that ayah being played out in your experience over and over again, you do something good and good comes back to you. Someone does something good and good comes back to them. This is confirmation. The asma and the sifat, all of the things that we see from God, that we can relate back to his names, back to his attributes, these are things that give us certainty. Allah said that he is a tawab, and we see people turning back to God, God turning back to them. God says that he is Ar-Rahman. We experience that mercy. God says that he's Al-Muqtadir. We experience that power. Today, we're covering a name that is one of the most beautiful names of Allah. Ghafir Al-Danb, the one that forgives sin. Ghafir Al-Danb. But Ghafara means more than to forgive. Ghafara in Arabic literally means to cover something, right? Ghafara means to cover something, right? In this context, it means that God covers sin so thoroughly that not even a trace of it remains. You know how with people, you may, hurt somebody's feelings, you may do something wrong, and maybe you ask their forgiveness, and they grant you that forgiveness. But the minute you do something else, it'll come back up, right? And it could be from years ago. It's just like in 2017 when you pulled that garbage. And that was 6 years ago, man. Yeah. I forgave. I didn't say I forgot. Yeah. Here you go doing it again. Same old thing you did in 2001. That was 22 years ago. Right? You remember that? Means that God covers it. So then it's almost like it doesn't even exist anymore. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, "At-ta'ibu min al-dhanbi kaman la dhanba lah." The one that repents from a sin is like the one who never committed the sin. Now, of course, the Prophet ﷺ is not telling us this just to remind us about the capacity of God to forgive. He's also telling us this so that we gain the capacity to forgive ourselves. You have some people who wear their sins as a permanent identity. They can never let it go. Even though they have repented to God, they have asked for forgiveness, they carry with them almost this hood of a shame, approbation, opprobrium, fancy words that they're just carrying around like, it's like, don't you know that God is a Ghafir of them? That he covers the sin. You don't have to carry that around like some shackle. Let it go. This was something you did. You were remorseful about it. You repented about it. You've turned back to God. Allah has covered the sin. There's a beautiful hadith of the Prophet ﷺ in the Sahih This is no, in fact, it's in the Shama'il of Imam al-Tirmidhi, but it's an authentic hadith. But it's not, when I say in the Sahih, I mean, it's not in the collections of Imams Bukhari or Muslim. It's a different collection, but it's an authentic hadith. And this hadith is mentioned in the chapter on the laughter of the Prophet, right? Or the joking of the Prophet. But even his jokes were in truth, right? One time the Prophet was standing with one of the companions. He said something, the companion started laughing, and then he said, Ya Rasulullah, you always humor us. The Prophet looked at him and said, even when I joke, I'm telling the truth. right? Like, you know, وَمَا يَنْتِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَى. He doesn't speak from hawa. Even when I joke, I'm telling the truth. So the Prophet ﷺ said that there's going to be a person who comes before God on Yawm al-Qiyamah. And God will say to the computing angel, the angel doing the reckoning, right, with the scale of deeds, take away all of his major sins, but leave the minor sins. Show him the minor sins, and then give him good deeds in place of all of the minor sins. Right? This is Ghafir Al-Danb. Not only did God forgive him, God also gave him or her good deeds in place of all of their sins. The Prophet ﷺ said, when this person sees what happened, they start saying, wait, hold on. There were some sins that wasn't on there. Right? Some sins I didn't see. Meaning, because you've given me, well, look, you don't have to laugh at my jokes, you have to laugh at the Prophet. Right? Because you've given me good deeds in place of all of my sins, Ya Allah, there's some more sins back there. There was some more stuff I was doing back there now. Let's see it all. And the Prophet ﷺ started laughing, right? Just to illustrate, right, the forgiveness of God, how comprehensive it is that God, like, don't take this the wrong way. This is why teachers are important, right? But the Prophet ﷺ was saying in this hadith that God's forgiveness is so comprehensive that if you experienced it on Yawm al-Qiyamah, you'd want to expose more sins. No. If you're giving good deeds in place of sins, oh, I got some more sins. I got some more sins. This is it's counterintuitive that a person would want to expose their sins, but such is the forgiveness of Allah. He's a Ghafir Al-Danb. And you know, whenever you think about God covering sins, you have to think about the transformative power of Islam. You know, converts and also people recommitting to Islam. Sometimes you just have this moment where you think about some of the stuff you used to do, some of the stuff you used to say, right? And you can't believe who you've become. It's like, and I think about, wow. You know, I was telling someone, and of course the Prophet ﷺ, he generally discouraged people exposing their sins. Right? If Allah has given you the cover of privacy, don't remove that cover. Right? Especially not to entice people. Right? You don't tell people about, you know, the sordid details of your past to remind them of how much fun you were having. Right? I mean, we used to be in the club going off, baby. I'm talking stuff. Women, oh man, I had two. We could blow hours talking about the women I have. But stop. That's bad. I'm Muslim. Not to, you know, sins are not, but if somebody talks about what they were or what they used to do in the name of فَأَمَّا بِنَعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ, as for the favor of your Lord, proclaim it. This is the last verse of Surah Al-Duha. Allah says, This is the last verse of Surah Al-Duha. Allah says, as for the favor of your Lord, and we'll break it 6 o'clock for the Asr. As for the favor of your Lord, proclaim it. You can tell someone, never in a million years would I have predicted that I would become a practicing Muslim. But Allah is a Ghafir of them. People change, man. You know, I was telling someone that, man, so we'll pray awesome, and then we'll come back to that. My goal was to finish 18. Yeah. I was to finish 18. I thought I could have said it in the hand. And my I've never studied man. Don't worry, sir. Well,
How long was it? Okay, like door to door was like, so, small house. Oh, you are the one that cried? Oh, it's not a big rich. Oh, it's great. We were going to have to sit to them, like, I didn't grab what you need. And then like, oh, they really. Yeah, but then we were. I'm looking. It's what's all right. Yeah. Like, we're really into this so expensive. They're understood the training. Yeah, that was fine. Okay, so I was sleepy. Sleep is sorry, it's exciting. I'm just like. Yeah, like it's a little cute, but I'm almost like everything. I'm so everything different now. Well, we're not doing it. Well, it's nice. Literally, and I was like, yeah. So yeah, I just literally reached out to the doctor's office. And then I reached her out for the yeah. Yeah. That was last Tuesday. I totally forgot about it. Happy is my friend. It's really anymore. You're like, you know, oh, like that. Talk about words, just like, but we do like one. By himself, like, I'm gonna do through the mom. People like that. With the. So you got it. She's like, oh, I bought
Yes. What's the plan? بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم وبعد. So the first name that we reviewed was Ghafir, and it's usually connected to Ghafir al-Danb, the one that forgives sin. The word in Arabic for sin, there's many words for sin, but Damb is one of them. Ithm is one of them. The fact that the way we understand God's names is that every name or attribute of the divine is inherent to God, right? So God inherently forgives sin because we inherently make mistakes, right? The Prophet ﷺ said, Kulu bani Adam khatta'un wa khayr al-khatta'in at-tawwabun. All of the children of Adam make mistakes. In fact, I think, and this is just me, just thinking aloud, if we did not commit sins, if we didn't make mistakes, if we didn't show inconsistency at times, our knowledge of God would be incomplete because you wouldn't know grace. See, the only one in need of grace is someone that has fallen, someone that has made a mistake. So because God is inherently gracious, inherently forgiving, we are inherently flawed. We are inherently falling short of God's glory so that we can experience God's grace, right? Now, Ghafur is sifatul mubalagha. In English, we don't have this linguistic form. We don't have this in English. In English, we usually use like words like very to indicate that someone embodies a quality to a superlative degree. So like this person is generous and this person is very generous, right? Or if you're British, quite generous. I had British classmates at Azhar, and Americans always say very, they would always say quite. One of them we were arguing, he got frustrated with me and he said, Ubaid, are you quite done? Are you quite done? Right? So we would use words like very or quite. In Arabic, they have an entire linguistic form that indicates the superlative quality. So Rahim is the one that shows mercy. Maybe you've noticed at the end of the Ya Arhamar Rahimin, O most merciful of those who show mercy. Anyone can be a Rahim. Anyone who forgives or overlooks from a place of advantage. That is how mercy is understood in our tradition. It is overlooking from a place of advantage, meaning if I wanted to exact retribution, I could, but I'm not. That's mercy. That's rahim. Who rahim? Right? Here rahimah. If a person does that, we describe them as merciful. But rahim is the sifatul mubalagha. It's not just like regular mercy. It's like superlative mercy. It's more, right? It's kind of like sifatul mubalagha means to an exaggerated degree. Right? Mubalagha in Arabic is exaggeration. Mubalagha. La tubaligh fi kalamik. Don't exaggerate. So if we say sifatul mubalagha, an exaggerated quality. So when we say God is Rahim, we mean like overwhelmingly merciful, not just merciful. The Arabs, some words they used, some words the Quran introduced, right? So Rahim was a word they used to refer to a person that was very merciful. Rahman, which is another sifatul mubalagha, was a word they had never heard before, right? And they would joke because they felt themselves masters of their language. They would joke when they would hear the Muslims say, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Man ar-Rahman. Who is the Rahman? What is that? And this is why Surah Al-Rahman was revealed. And it begins Ar-Rahman, because they would joke, Rahman? Man ar-Rahman. Rahman? What is the Rahman? Who is the Rahman? What is Rahman? Right? Ghafir, the first name we covered, is a regular ism fa'il. Just person that covers, shows mercy. Ghaffar and Ghafur. These are mubalagha. So it's the same idea of God covering sin, but to like more. So you say Ghafir, God forgives, God covers sin. Ghafur, God really, God very, 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 quite covers sin. Ghaffar, so the point in all of this is that God's ability and capacity to forgive is greater than your ability to sin. That's what all of this understood collectively points to. That you are not capable of doing something as a Muslim that God cannot forgive. You don't have that ability. And they say that anyone who thinks that their capacity to fail or sin or make mistakes is greater than God's capacity to forgive, cover, remove mistakes. لا يقدرون الله حق قدره. They have grossly underestimated God. Right? So God is giving us multiple names so that you understand, look, I am in the forgiveness business. This is inherently who God is. Right? This is inherently who God is. Right? All of this is understood by the name Ghafir, Ghafur, Ghaffar. And Astaghfirullah is from that same root of Ghafara. Astaghfirullah, I seek that covering. I seek that forgiveness. Some of us forget that Astaghfirullah is a first person statement. I seek God's cover. I seek God's forgiveness. Many of us use it like a pejorative. Astaghfirullah. Right? Like as if we're saying Istaghfirillah. Like as if we're saying in the The Amr, you seek God's forgiveness. That's how we use it, right? And it's such an abuse of a beautiful expression. It literally means I seek God's forgiveness, I seek God's cover. But we use it, we weaponize it. Somebody says something we don't like, I'm stuck. I'm stuck. I'm stuck. And I'm telling you, that and a'udhu billah wa iyadhu billah. This is like the trio of religious expressions used to cause harm. Right? Somebody saying something, wa iyadhu billah. Right? Wa iyadhu billah. I'm like, that's such I mean, I'll never forget, I was a new Muslim. I said something, and a brother said, a'udhu billah. And I was just learning about Islam. And I said, you use the same expression toward me you use toward the devil? I mean, maybe what I said was wrong, but damn, you know, he said, a'udhu billah, a'udhu billah, a'udhu billah min dhalik. Some people, a'udhu billahi mink. You know, I seek refuge in God from you. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, right? Astaghfirullah. I seek the cover of God. It's beautiful. It's not like astaghfirullah. You know, or in African American, it's astaghfirullah. 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 You know what I'm saying? I seek God's cover. And what a beautiful thing to enjoy the cover of God, because if one is covered by God, their sins are removed. Right? And this is something we should rejoice in. You know, there are many things that distinguish our religious tradition from the Christian religious tradition. One of the most profound things is the way we understand God's forgiveness. That God's forgiveness can be sought by any individual seeking to atone with God. There is no need of any blood sacrifice. So there is no need of any vicarious atonement through Christ. Like, if one wanted to look at the theological differences between Christianity and Islam, one of the most significant, and Muslims, scarcely mention this, is that we believe that God can forgive without blood sacrifice. You see, that is something that they do not believe. Now, many of them are like shy to say that. They don't believe, but actually the belief that Christ had to come down and die for the sins of humanity is based on the idea that there cannot be forgiveness without blood sacrifice. This is why Christ is sometimes called the Lamb of God, right? The sacrificial Lamb of God. This is what the sins of humanity requires for redemption, right? And when you think about the guilt that would cause, like, of course, we don't believe that God has children, but if you think the Son of God had to die because of my sinful nature, that's just, many Catholic people talk about Catholic guilt. I say, well, yeah, I mean, if you're carrying that around, you're carrying that around, the Son of God had to die because of my sinful nature. I don't know how can you not be guilty? I mean, you know what I'm saying? In a real, right? No, Muslims say right from the beginning, Adam and Hawa, Adam and Eve, they made a mistake, they repented, and God accepted their repentance. That's it, right? There is no original sin inherited by their descendants. We don't believe in any of that. We believe that God forgives because God is inherently forgiving. There's no need for blood sacrifice, no need for anyone to die. God forgives because God is inherently forgiving. And that also means that any human being that is mistaken at any time can seek God's forgiveness and trust that he or she will be forgiven. Let's say I was in a debate with a Christian neighbor, and he kept saying, do you believe that the wage of sin is blood? I said, no. No, I don't believe that. Wait, you don't believe that the wage of sin is blood? No. So what do you believe? God forgives. He said, just like that. He said, God, just God forgives. Yeah, God forgives. That's what we believe. There's repentance and forgiveness. He said, no, it can't be that easy. No, you guys think I'm making this up? I swear to God, it can't be that easy. It can't be that easy. The wage of sin is blood. So we're in the blood of Christ. Right? Now, I'm not making this up. Right? You used to be Christian? Am I making this up? No, no, I'm not making this up. We're covered in the blood of Christ. What'd you say? We covered in the blood. We covered in the blood. And I kept saying, Father, there's no need for any blood. God forgives. Right? And I could see how this was a radical concept to him. God, just like God forgives, God forgives. His name is Ghaffar. He's the forgiving. His name is Ghafur. He's the forgiving. His name is Al-Danb. He's the forgiving. His name is Rahman. God forgives. So this is a very important name, right? This aspect of divinity is very important when discussing what we believe with our classmates, colleagues. And we don't have to go at their belief and attack them, but it's important that we emphasize we believe in a forgiving God. We believe in a forgiving God, a God that it is from that God's divine nature to forgive mistakes. And we believe that right from the beginning, when Adam and Eve made the mistake of eating from the tree God told them not to eat from, they were forgiven, even then, right? As a consequence of their action, yes, they came to earth, right? This began our earthly experience, but and see, I always say to people, to me, this is one of the signs that the Quran is from God. Because just that slight adjustment, that slight clarification to the story of Adam and Eve in the garden, right? That there was a mistake and there was forgiveness. Changes the theological course of Islam, right? You can't expect that an unlettered person in the 7th century in Arabia is aware of those subtleties, right? That's very hard to imagine that those kinds of subtleties, no, this is just the truth being clarified, right? That the wage of sin is not blood, right? So these are very important names: Ghafir, Ghaffar, Ghafur. These are names that should, fill us with great hope, not only for ourselves, but for all of our loved ones, right? For everybody. We should rest assured that if there is any way that anybody can be forgiven, God will forgive. And anyone who is punished on Yom Qiyamah, it will only be because punishment is fitting for what they were guilty of. Right? It will not be because God is vengeful, because God is not vengeful. God is full of grace. Right? It won't be because God is angry. Right? It won't. Anyone, Allah Ta'ala says, وَرَبُّكَ لَا يَظْلِمُ أَحَدًا. Your Lord does not wrong anyone. Right? So these are very important names. These are the names of consolation. When you think about how far you have to go, when you think about places you need to grow, you think about challenges that you're having in your spiritual development, remember, God is forgiving. Don't let that go. Like, hold on to that. Right? This is not to say do whatever you want to do. Al-Ghafur. It's like, we don't want to leave God's forgiveness just sitting out there. We got to put it to test. Somebody pass me that weed, man. You know what I'm saying? We don't want to leave it just sitting out there. We got to make sure it's working. You know, Muslims have some crazy ideas, you know what I'm saying? But it is true that it's working. You know, I knew a sheikh who was in Egypt. He said late one night he was coming home and he saw a Sudanese man that had like a 40 ounce of malt liquor in his jacket. Now the Sudanese people drink anymore. That's not what I'm saying. That just happened to be the story. I said nothing about people from Sudan. طبعا احنا بنحب اهل السودان يعني طبعا. Right? You know, right? And he said that when he saw him, he just like automatically snapped at him. Astaghfirullah. There it is. There it is. Astaghfirullah. And he said the man looked at him calmly. And he said that the man's eyes were like piercing. He said the man almost looked through him and said, Allah Ghafur. Allah Ghafur. Allah is forgiven. Allah is forgiven. Right? Allah covers sin. He said the man didn't try to explain. The man didn't try to hide it. The man just lowered his hands, looked in his eyes and said, Allah Ghafur. And he said that he remembered everything about that moment. From the look in the man's face, to his penetrating gaze, to just him looking just defeated. And he said it stopped him. He said he just stopped. And just kept walking home. Right? And you know, I was, you know, young. Why did you knock the liquor out of his hand? You know, you're right, Allah is Ghafur. Yeah, I mean, you know, Allah is Ghafur. You know what I mean? That's why he sent me here to prevent you from drinking. You know what I mean? And he said that, you know, he said, he said, you know, he said it was like the man said it from the depth of his soul. And for many of us, that's all we have. Allah Ghafur. He said, stop. Allah Ghafur. Allah Ghafur. I don't have anything else. That's all. What you want me to say? Want me to try to pretend like this is right? Or tell you this is a very large bottle of olive oil? Or, you know, I mean, this is Allah Ghafur. Allah Ghafur. And I think that even though I didn't experience that, it was just something my teacher told me. It always sticks with me because I think sometimes the forgiveness of God is the last refuge of the believer. Right? When all of your personal devices have broken down and I'm really overcome by my sin. Like I'm really in a space where my sin, my weakness, my addiction, my bad habits, they have overcome me. Like, bro, I'm overrun by this. The last thing I have, Allah. Allah. What? And, you know, thinking about my teacher's story, I think, you know, anybody who's sincere and who identifies with people struggling, how can that stop you? He said he stopped in his tracks. I just started walking. And he said, man, I was about to light into this guy. Stop for the long see. You know, he said, you know, when he said it to me, I just thought, wow. You know, in a certain sense, we're all that pitiful. In a certain sense. Right? Maybe we don't all drink alcohol, but in a certain sense, we're all that pitiful. Allah Ghafur. Whether we say it verbally or just say it with our state. Allah Ghafur. Right? So, أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. If there are any questions, comments, rebuttals, challenges, clarifications about the blessedness of the people of Sudan, you know, anything that anyone wants to offer, yes.
I would just have time to edit, right? So it's about.
Uh, you know, I know. Deep story. Now this is crazy, man. Look, you just don't know, don't help Shaitan against your brothers and your sisters. I was trying to do a landscaping project in front of my house. And man, the story's crazy, man. These are the things that you realize, Riz is from God. Your provision, what you have, it's from God. So I needed to go to a flea market to buy the shrubbery. There was a guy that owned a nursery in Michigan who would come down to the flea market and sell these boxwood plants that I really liked, right? I knew for the amount of, shrubbery I needed, it was gonna be about $1,000, $1,100, something like that. I very rarely carry cash. I went to the bank, withdrew the $1,000. I had to go to a dinner for the American Learning Institute for Muslims. I was speaking at a dinner. It was hot. I put on a blazer, put the money in my inside pocket. But when I stepped outside, I thought, that's kind of hot. I go back in and just wear a little small cardigan sweater. Right? I go back in and get the cardigan sweater. Why didn't I leave the $1,000 in the house? I don't know. I put the $1,000 in the pocket of the cardigan sweater. As I was getting out of my truck, at the time I was driving an SUV, I thought, man, this money is in this pocket so flimsily, it could just come out. I just put it in the center console of the car and then get it as I'm going into the house. I'll lock the car, go in, do my little speech, come out, get in the car, go home. Go upstairs, because my wife was out of town. Go upstairs, go sleep, wake up on my way to the flea market. Oh, the money, where's the money? Oh, the money's in the car. Money wasn't in the car. They I said they picked them, because they would come to the block often and, little vehicle theft. Yeah, always. They always come in and put it on car doors and they unlock the doors with magnets. They know how to unlock the doors with magnets. Sometimes they have they've done the programming. I mean, they got all kinds of ways to get into the cars. So when I open the console, one person said that, a gambling person said that money won is just different than money earned. Like you can go and do something and earn money, it doesn't feel like winning money. Right? Don't gamble. I'm just saying. but the money lost is not like money spent. So you spend money, $1,000 is gone, you spent it, whether it was on a meal, good time, vacation, shoes, a purse, whatever you bought, you spent it. When you lose money, oh man, it just doesn't feel good. Money lost is not like money spent. Money spent is like, you can see someone, at least think about something, man, that was good. So whatever. We had a great time or whatever. But money lost is like, I'm talking about, you would have thought that they were filming like a movie and I was acting. When I opened the center console, I said, I was thinking about, and we got one guy that's always on the block. What happened? What happened? I say, Burn, they killed me, man. They got me. I said, usually, they get people for, some change, whatever you got to change, couple. They got me for like 1,200, man. Oh, and I sit up there and say, oh man. He said, man, they fine. They got high, all they friends. I said, man, you ain't making this no better. They got high with all of them. You want to know who did it? Just just see who everybody loves today. You know what I'm saying? He said, I said, oh, so I'm angry. I'm mad, right? The next night, I'm sitting up at the window all night because I want to confront whoever did this. So I'm watching all night. I hear something downstairs. I say, this is my moment. I jump out, and what y'all doing on this block, man? Man. And it was two brothers that appeared to be drug addicted, right? And I didn't catch them pulling on locks, but they were kind of like rummaging through stuff and just, and they were really scared. And they was, man, you call the police, man, we ain't on nothing, man, we just, man, we are just under the weight of, man, that thing got us, man, just talking about that heroin. We on that heroin, man, and it's got us out here, man, and we struggling, man. And I say, brother, I don't care what kind of addiction you have, if I see your face on this block, it's gonna be a problem. I'm trying to look, hey, look, man. And I could tell he was kind of like really intimidated. All right. Fast forward, Friday, pray Juma, leaving out the masjid, I look, somebody making dua real hard. It was one of those guys. I felt bad, man. It was one of those guys. It was a shock to me. I looked, it was like he was right there. He was praying. He was praying hard. I was like, oh, I didn't even say that. I just like snuck out. I was like, oh man. I just, I just snuck out, man. But you just never know. Don't give up. Keep trying, man. No, I mean, it'll shock you, man. It'll shock you. Some people just struggling. And Allah Ghafur. So when my teacher said he didn't stop that guy or didn't even preach to him because he knew that what he was saying, he was sincere. And Allah is forgiving, man. I just, I'm caught up right now, man. But Allah is forgiving, And it's amazing that, you know, uh, people, subhanAllah, they know something about Allah, man. Even people struggling, they know something about Allah. I heard a number of crazy stories like that. Brother BC told me he was driving a livery cab. That's like before Uber. When you were pre-Uber, when you would use your own car as a taxi. That was called livery, right? And he said that one night the guy jumped in, flashed a gun, tried to rob him. He said that he just exclaimed out of force of habit, SubhanAllah. He said the guy looked at him and said, stop for life. He said, dude, the guy stuck me up. Stuck me up with force. He said he was just like, SubhanAllah. He said he was it just got out of the car, man. These are real stories. This is in the 90s. The craziest story I ever heard was that somebody stole the car of a Muslim, and they had a tape cassette in of a series called Purification of the Heart that Hamza Yusuf did in the 90s. And they said the person brought the car back with a note and said, man, I stole your car. And as soon as I started driving, somebody was preaching or something. And I listened to it all night. And when I finished listening to it, I just want to bring your car back, man. I'm gonna get a Quran, I'm gonna learn something about Islam. That was it. What happened?
They took his car I think I might have heard something, I'm not sure, but the end of that.
Yeah, no, I mean, you'd be surprised. The point of these stories is that even people involved in immoral behavior, there's still something there. There's still something there that the person can be like, you know what, man, you're right, man, this is not me.
Right. Maybe nursing home, right?
Mhm.
So,
Mhm. Okay.
and probably.
Jessica, but you know, I mean, now something that happened to me. This is definitely. I only share this with you guys in confidence, right? The video. Well, no, cut the video. Cut the video. No, 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 no. This is the free. Now, this is the story that's happened to me. Every part of this story is absolutely true. I went about 3 years ago to give a lecture at Brown University in Rhode Island. The next day, I was supposed to fly to Spain with my wife. No, to the United Arab Emirates. I was supposed to go to Abu Dhabi with my wife. And for some, yeah, I know why, probably because I'm cheap. We had a non-refundable ticket. So I gave the lecture, went back to the hotel, and thought I would be able to get a cab or Uber or something like that to get to the airport to get the first flight. I wake up, it's early, pray Fajr. In fact, Fajr hadn't even come in yet. This is the winter time. Try to get an Uber, nothing. Try to get a taxi, nothing. Try to call people I met the night before, nothing. So I'm getting like really nervous, like I'm gonna miss this flight and we're gonna miss this trip, right? I happen to be, subhanAllah, wearing an overcoat and a hat with a brim, right? So I'm starting to get nervous. And I thought, man, my wife has been planning for this trip. I've been planning for this trip. We spent money on these tickets. I might go out here and hitchhike. Like if I see somebody going past, like, yo, can you take me to the airport, right? And every time I was like about to put my hand up, I just get nervous. Like, this just seemed too weird, you know what I'm saying? So I ended up pacing back and forth in my overcoat and my hat, like this. Like I'm pacing back and forth. It's cold out there, got my luggage sitting right there, you know, at the hotel. And so a guy pulls to the side, gets out of his car, walks up to me and says, "Man, girl." Girls? He said, "You are a pimp, right?" He said, "Dude." He said, "Where the girls?" I said, "The girls?" He said, "You are a pimp, right?" I said, "No, I'm not a pimp." Right? He said, "What you doing out here?" I said, "I'm actually a preacher." He said, "Oh, damn, you got me. Man, that's not for the shame. You know, I'm out here trying to do what I do. You know, Puerto Rican guy." He said, "You know, oh." I said, "But you can't give me a ride to the airport." He was like, "Oh, yeah, no problem, man." So, so we're in the car right to the airport. I mean, this is 2 weeks in the car right to the airport. I'm giving him down. I'm talking to him about Islam. And he's like, "Yeah, no, you know what? I came out here for something this morning. But this is much better than what I came out here." Yeah, this is much better than what I came. You know, and so we get in, it was a good like 30 minutes from the airport. We talking. And he says, "You know, man, I really need to work on myself and just get myself together." I said, "Well, submitting to God is the right start place for that." He said, "Yeah, probably first I'm gonna have to deal with this." Pulled 2 pieces of rock cocaine out of his mouth. This story get deep in. He pulled 2 rocks. I say, yeah. But first, I probably have to deal with this. Hey, I say, yeah. I say, yeah. You definitely gonna have to deal with that. You definitely gonna have to deal with that. You know what I'm saying? He said, yeah, no, man. You know, this is a problem, man. He said, I ain't serious. If I was serious, I would toss him out the window, but I ain't tossing him out. You know what I'm saying? You know, if I was serious, I would toss him out the window, but I ain't tossing him out. And so, man, I sit up there, man, talk to him a little bit more. We put him to the airport. I thanked him. Said, man, let me get you some gas or something like that. I ain't gonna get no money. You know what I'm saying? Let me get you some gas or something like that. No, man, don't worry about it. He was an honor, man. Got out, said, pray for me. Jumped in the car, man, pulled off. I said, man, that was just such a crazy, that was crazy. Where the girls? Girls? You are a pimp, right? No, I'm a Muslim preacher. Oh man, nah, I'm full of shame. I had some crazy stuff happen to me in my career. Inshallah. But we made that trip though. I came in the house, and my wife had her bags packed, my bags already packed. We literally just stepped, went right back out. I said, this hat, Allah used this hat to make this trip happen. You know, I had a grip hat, and she said, what happened? I told her the story, it was unbelievable. So she said, get out of here. You were riding around with a drug addicted John? I said, talking to him about Allah. Talking to him about Allah. Subhanallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين الحمد لله رب العالمين ما شاء الله. You guys are always welcome. Come back here.
For anybody, next week is going to no class.
Oh. You're always welcome. Except for next week.
After next week.